Ahlan, my name's Balthazar. We will be LetsWander in Cairo and Giza, Egypt. Uh, as I was saying before, Cairo and Giza are basically the same city at this point. Technically speaking, they are 4 kilometers away from each other, and they are two cities that there's not a direct, clear distinction between the two of them, because they're basically cities that you can just walk down the street and you'll be like, oh, cool, I'm in another city. So, because a lot of the sites are pretty much the same, if you go to the city, you're going to go to the other city. I just decided to put them together, mainly because I wanted to visit Cairo, but I also wanted to visit the pyramids, because why not? So, to start off with, we will be going through the Giza Necropolis, which is pretty much what you would be going to if you wanted to see the pyramids. What we're looking at right now is the Great Pyramid, and I will get to that here in just a moment. So, as you can probably tell if you watched my last few live streams, my audio quality is also way better than it used to be. I've had this mic for a little while, but whenever I was moving, I lost the power cord, so now I have an actual mic again. I'm currently working on building a mic stand, so I'm probably going to be a little bit quiet, so I apologize for that. But yeah, also, I do have a pretty huge announcement. I might be going into it later, so stay tuned. But I also might decide to wait until next week to post it, because it's a pretty major update. But we'll get to that. So to start off with, like I said, we are looking at the Great Pyramid. It was originally built for the pharaoh Khufu. That's spelled Khufu, which also ancient Egyptian as well as Arabic. I'm not super familiar with pronunciations, and there is a lot of names, so I apologize if I horribly mispronounce these. But Khufu is an ancient Egyptian name. There is also the pharaoh Caffrey, which is Khafre. He has a different pyramid, but it's still in the same necropolis. So the Great Pyramid that we are currently looking at, which, gotta say, a lot taller than I was expecting. In comparison, look at these people. Like, those people, like right there, that you can see right in the middle, those are regular sized people. That's a giant monument. So it's 146 meters tall, and then which is 481 feet, and then when the pyramids were first created, they were actually originally covered in white limestone. So the yellow that you see now, that's after centuries of sun damage, wind damage, sand damage. There was even a time when part of the base was just completely covered in sand. We'll also be going to the Great Sphinx. There was also a point when only the head you could see, because the sand just covered the entire body. But we will get there. I would love to one day just ride a camel. I've heard that they spit. Not a huge fan of that part, but at the same time, it's a camel. The horse wearing the blinders. But yeah, so all of the pyramids that are in the Great Necropolis, which again, that's the area where most people associate pyramids with Egypt, all of them were built during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom. There's a few different kingdoms that happened in Egypt, and obviously since it lasted centuries. But all the ones that were part of the major area, those were built between 2600 and about 2500 BC, give or take about 50 years. A lot of the years that we get, because they are in BC, we can't really go off of the hieroglyphics that are in the temples as well as everywhere else. So most of the years that we're getting is mainly through carbon dating. I think that pyramid is for Caffrey. I'm not entirely sure. But Khufu's pyramid, specifically this one is believed to have been built in 2560 BC. obviously, just a reminder, I am using Google Maps, so you can see all of this yourself. Oh, this is a really saturated picture. Buses are cool. Sorry, ignore the pyramid. Look at the buses. Look at those. And all yellow and stuff. That's a cool picture. Okay, who is wearing a coat in Egypt? Like, come on. So there are also going to be some smaller pyramids that we should be seeing, like some of the areas around there, around the middle. Those are called queen pyramids. They don't always house queens. They're just called queens because the bigger pyramids are considered king pyramids. Ancient Egypt was definitely a patrimonial society. Meaning like the guy was typically considered the more important, so that's just a thing that's to know about. Although there was a time, it was definitely during what's her face? God, I feel like an idiot. What's her name? Y'all know who I'm talking about. Cleopatra. That's her name. There was a time during Cleopatra's reign when women did start to get more power than men. So that was cool. Yeah, that was goofy. Which, weird fun fact, did you know that Cleopatra spoke 8 languages? Like, even by modern standards, that's a lot. Like, I speak a language and a half. So this is Caffrey's pyramid. As you can see at the top, that is kind of ish what the limestone would have looked like. Obviously, sand beaten and all of that. It also would have been a lot like shinier. Historians don't really know why they chose limestone. It just worked. I do have a personal theory that there may have been other pyramids built that were built out of like different material. But because they weren't a material that could like withstand time, they just disappeared. Again, that's entirely a personal theory. Which, on that note, we actually don't know exactly how many people worked on the pyramids. Since again, these only took maybe 100 to 200 years to be built. So the vast majority of modern Egyptologists and archaeologists, it's very unlikely that slaves took part in it. They may have been part of the manual labor, but the design and most of the movement, that would have been done by skilled craftsmen and craftswomen. Because they would only take some of them only took about 20 or 30 years to be built. So, yeah. So these are the 2 major pyramids. This is what's considered a queen pyramid. It's a much smaller one. It's just there to be right next to the bigger pyramids. Which also, the pyramids, the 2 major ones, obviously those were dedicated to 2 specific pharaohs. But a lot of the smaller ones would be like a family thing. Like, there would be the pharaoh and his wife, children maybe. Depending on if they were in favor with the people, they may have just been ousted. Just thrown out. Is she T-posing? She is 100% T-posing. Imagine T-posing in Egypt. What is my half language? So, technically, I have like 3 half languages. I can partially speak Spanish. I can like kind of hold a conversation. I took like 4 years in high school, but like I only remember like the very basics. I also I can at least basically read French, and I can at least communicate in American Sign Language. Like I know the letters, I know some of the words. It would not be fluent in the slightest. There was a time when I also tried to learn Japanese, but the Japanese alphabet is so weird. Like there's I think there's like 2 or 3 different like alphabets. There's kanji, and then there's I don't remember what it's called, but basically like kanji or like Japanese doesn't really use build upon letters. Like you can spell with kanji, but a lot of their words are just like very specific words that you just have to know what they are. So I say 1.5 to like put like all of my other ones that I don't actually know together into like a half one. I am way off topic. I think that the skyline is supposed to be both Giza and Cairo, because again, they're basically the same city. So I did put down a weird fun fact. I want to give y'all a quick heads up. This fun fact is incredibly graphic. It is disturbing, but it's also going to provide like a lot of context for history, so just a heads up. So in the 17th century, and then it later died out in the early 18th century, Europeans ate mummies. But like, it wasn't like they were just doing it for fun. It was supposed to be a medicinal practice where you just ate a specific body part and it was supposed to help heal that body part. But yeah, it wasn't like they were just wanting to eat mummies specifically. It's just there was a lot of them, and the reason why there's not a lot today is because of how many were eaten. Which again, horribly graphic and very disturbing and disgusting. But yeah, that's why mummies are such a rarity these days. I know, right? Like, languages are so cool. Like, I do want to master at least one other language before I die. I would love to master Spanish. Spanish is like one of my favorite languages to hear. I didn't look at the cemeteries. I'm kind of curious what it looks like in here. This reminds me of that place in China where they found like 30,000 ceramic warriors. I have no idea if they're connected. I seriously doubt it. But, I mean, it just gives me those vibes. Stella of Queen Marathon. I don't look her up. Considering she's here, I'm gonna assume that she has something to do with either Khufu or Caffrey. Probably Caffrey. Wait, no. This is in the... No, this is right next to Khufu's. Okay. So yeah, she would have some connection to Khufu. Maybe his wife, maybe like a descendant. Maybe even his brother. Who knows? Is this supposed to be the ship? I'm assuming this is supposed to be like the ship. Maybe it's under the canvas and it's just hidden from like water or whatever. So another cool thing about the desert is that, especially Egypt, is that at night it gets like ridiculously cold. So right about this time of the morning, it would probably be only like 50, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is probably like the best time of day to go. Especially considering it's the morning, so like the tourists aren't really out just yet. The Sphinx is what I want to go to next. So it's about 240 feet long and then about 66 feet high, which doesn't sound like a lot until you consider that it was it was all one piece. I don't remember what it's made out of. But yeah, no, the Great Sphinx of Giza, it was carved by a few different artists, and it was carved just out of one, like, piece of stone. There it is. So, it's considered one of, if not the largest pieces of art ever crafted out of a single piece of stone. Oh, it took about 3 years to complete, which, again, even by modern standards, that's amazing. Like, sure, you could probably go at that with equipment, but if you were to just do that just by hand and maybe a hammer and chisel, that's a lot. Yeah, like I was saying before, there was a time when the sand in the area was just so high that the only thing you could see was the face. And, like, for a long time, people just thought that it was just a face. Until some archaeologists, I think it was in the 1800s, they were just like, maybe there's something underneath this. Maybe it's a tomb, or maybe there's more to it. And they started digging, and they were just like, oh, there's a body. I don't think I found, like, who it was dedicated to. Like, historians don't entirely agree on who it was based off of. Some people say that it's more Caffrey because the face is more Caffrey, but it was also built around the time when people were, like, worshipping Khufu. So, yeah. Egyptologists are pretty sure it's one of the two, but they can't, like, say for sure which one. Also, Caffrey and Khufu are related. I think they were like son and father. But yeah, so entirely by coincidence, there's Sphinx-like and actually called Sphinx creatures that are in Greek, Egyptian, and even Southern Asian architecture. It's possible that they did interact occasionally. It's not super likely, but it's possible. Especially considering how ancient the ancient world is. I was gonna say that's a cat, but I can't tell what that is. Yeah, when it comes to Google Maps, I usually try to stay towards like the path area because that's usually like higher quality pictures. Sometimes though, I will go to just the dots. Those are usually just user submitted pictures. There we go, that's a much better picture. But yeah, the weird thing about the nose, we don't actually know for sure how or even when the nose came off. Because a lot of people like to assume that it was during Napoleon's occupation of the area. But people say there was like a cannon or whatever during like a celebration. But there's depictions of it without the nose, like way before Napoleon was ever there. So most people assume Napoleon because Napoleon, but we don't actually know. But on that note, there's only ever been like one major restoration, not including the stairs, and the only restoration was like widely controversial. It was in 1931, and there was a piece of the headdress that just came off because it's so old and sand erosion and all of that. The reason why it was so controversial is because when they reattached it, they used concrete, and obviously concrete takes up space, and the way that they reattached it like completely changed the facial profile. So even the face that we're looking at right now, well, the face is fine, but like the headdress, that's even slightly different from what it was at one point. I mean, I'm glad that we still have it, but I definitely understand why people got upset over it. We're inside somewhere. There's one of the major pyramids that you can actually go into, like, through a tour, and they just let you in. It's like a really small space and it only goes to, like, one chamber, but I'd still want to go to that one. I'm gonna assume this is a good picture, but I have nothing to work with. I don't know what this is. It's a temple of some kind. Of course, he's looking at his camera. If I can try to get something that's like inside one of the pyramids. I doubt it, but that's fine. Something. Also, it is very illegal to climb these. They're considered national monuments, so climbing on top of them is very, very bad. I have put this on one, but I don't remember. So I kind of got ahead of myself, going to Caffrey's pyramid like immediately. Because again, I'm looking at this completely new. I didn't know where anything was. So I had no idea that they were right next to each other. Yeah. Look at that. Even ignoring the illegality of climbing, why would you want to climb that? Like, the stones are the size of the people. But yeah, so Caffrey's pyramid is believed to have been completed in about 2570, so only about like 20-30 years after Khufu's. This one is about 706 feet tall, 706 feet wide, and then has a height of 136 meters, which is about 450 feet. One of these is like artificially taller. I think it's this one, because it has like an extra like 10-foot base, so it's technically taller because of that, but the actual pyramid itself is shorter. Also, necropolises are found all the time. It's literally just a word meaning dead place, or place of the dead. Yes! I kind of, like, one day I do want to visit the France catacombs, like, just on the topic of necropolis. I would love to visit the catacombs one day. Just because, like, it's apparently supposed to be just miles of dead people underground. So, this next one, I have no idea where it's at, so I'm going to have to find it. Here's this animation. It is very far away. The necropolis is like this. Yeah, right here. Wait up. I'm sorry, what is it? We'll go to that in a second. What is this? Oh! I remember reading about this in a book. I remember virtually nothing about it. I just want to see it. It was in a Rick Riordan book. Like, it wasn't the Red Pyramid, it was like the third book in that trilogy. I can zoom Good to know. Where'd it go? There it is. But yeah, there was a scene in the book where there was a cow that was on fire, and the protagonist had to fight a cow on fire. It was ridiculous, and I loved it. Man, taking a selfie with the 360 camera. This guy. Also, weird fun fact about this type of dress. It's not necessarily supposed to keep you cold or like cold. It's meant to basically collect your sweat to keep you cold through the water from your sweat, not so much the cloth itself. There's actually also a science behind why cowboys wore jeans. It was not because they were trying to protect themselves from the sun, it was to keep them cool. That's also why they typically wore bandanas, because it kept their faces cool. Okay, I'm just done. Where was I? Also, I'm pretty sure the American West was only like 20 or 30 years long, so there really wasn't that much time. So, the Pyramid of, I believe it's pronounced Djoser. So, this one is, it's believed to be the oldest pyramid. It's very short. It's 6-tiered, and it's a 4-sided structure, as most of the pyramids are. But it's believed to be the oldest colossal stone building in Egypt. Not even sure if I'm looking at it correctly. Here it is. I was looking in the complete wrong direction. But yeah, like compared to the other pyramids, it's like definitely one of the smallest, but it's considered to be the oldest. It originally stood about 205 feet tall, with a base of roughly 350 feet wide-ish, 350 by about 400. But the cool thing about it is that the pyramid itself isn't the cool part. The cool part is that underneath it, there's about 6 kilometers of tunnels. No one's really for sure why. It may have been like a catacombs-like thing, where it was like a city of the dead or whatever. We don't actually know. But there are areas where it's believed to have king's burial, as well as just general family members. But there's plenty of places where we're just not really sure what's going on. It's possible that it could have been like, I don't remember what they're called, but it's possible that it could have been like one of those family cemetery things, where just a whole lineage of pharaohs would just like be placed in here. That's considered the most likely thing. But yeah, there's just a bunch of empty space in there. It's also possible that because of like how accessible it is to get to the tunnels, it could have also just been like super looted. Like I said before, Europeans ate mummies, so they could have just have been treating this like a restaurant. That's a morbid thought. Now this would be like more manageable to actually climb. The walls are a lot steeper, but it's just not as tall. Also, the view would probably be really cool. Something that was like towards, yeah. That is not the middle of the pyramid. That is farther away than I last was. I think I remember like reading something about like how Google Maps placements are. Theoretically, they try to get as close as they can based on the geolocation of the camera. Obviously, that's not always possible. So sometimes it's user submitted. It's a really good picture. But obviously, when you have humans do stuff, there's always a chance of human error. I'm just checking my list of stuff right now because I don't know how much stuff I have. Okay, so enough of old stuff. Let's go to a museum of old stuff. So, just like usual, quick heads up. This is going to be a museum. This is going to probably contain some art. There is a possibility of naked statues, naked pictures, naked things like that. There may also, because Egyptian art may also contain depictions of sacrifices, there's a possibility of graphic content. So, yeah, just quick warning. There may be violence, there may be nudity, but it will all be artistic or historical. There's also a possibility that we could see that. Okay. One time I tried to do the quick move. Okay, that's blurry. Over here. This is outside. So, the Egyptian Museum, while I'm looking for a decent picture, it was originally founded in the 19th century by an Egyptologist named Auguste Mariette. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He was French, so I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Oh my god, what's up with these blurry pictures? They are user submitted, so that's probably why. Whew. Where are we going here? Right to the middle. Oh, hey. Great picture of a person. I'm assuming it wants me to look down. That looks like a really ancient Egyptian dress. How did they take this picture? Did they just like shove the camera inside the art? Or chick. Or whatever you are. But yeah, so there was originally an Egyptian museum that was founded in 1858, and I think it's pronounced Bulak. But it was moved here, and then, well, it was moved to like the general area in Giza, but then it eventually settled on where it's currently at, sometime between 1897 and 1902. So the museum's been around for a couple centuries, which, considering how old Egypt is in general, that's a lot of time. And sphinxes. Yeah, so sphinxes were generally considered guardians. I don't remember like the reason behind why they have human faces, but the reason why they have feline faces is because they are considered guardians, or feline bodies. don't think it's here, but I think the Rosetta Stone was in this museum at some point. It's probably in Britain at this point. Actually, where is it? Oh, I'm gonna look it up. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's in the British Museum. Just a reminder: the Rosetta Stone is pretty much the main reason why we're able to read ancient hieroglyphics. I think it had Egyptian and Greek for sure, but I think it had like 2 or 3 other languages on it. I was using my phone because I did not trust Google's results whenever I would put that on the screen. I'll certainly give Sergey, so that name, props for taking pictures. These are blurry. This was taken in 2019. Oh well. Still, I appreciate you for just taking the picture so we can see even this. There's a mall right next to a museum. Hold on. Quick side trick. Quick side trick. There's nothing. Aw, oh, come on. There's nothing there. Oh, that's the actual museum itself. I don't think they actually went to the museum itself, but the original Mummy movie from 1999, they used the Egyptian museum as the backdrop. So in that scene where they're getting, where they get chased out of the museum and they were like getting into a car, right around here is where the Jeep would have been, or the car, whatever it was. It's been a while since I watched it. I don't want to rewatch it. Someone in chat, do me a favor and look up where I can stream the Mummy. But in total, the Egyptian Museum has around 1,700 artifacts, and it has things like reliefs, sarcophagi, papyri, funerary art, and the contents of various tombs. I do have to say though, I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't get to see any violence, because, like, look up the Egyptian sacrificial art. It is incredible. Like, it's very graphic, so, like, warning. But yeah, it's like really well done. Alright, good. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. It's basically a castle named after an old dude. I'll pronounce the name that like most people are used to, which, yeah, you'll see here in a second. So it's that name, but most people know him as Saladin. He was a guy who overthrew the, I believe it's pronounced Fatimid dynasty in 1171 AD. And he established the new caliphate, which is kind of like a king system, basically, but also not really. Probably closer to like a, what is it called? It's kind of more similar to like a sultan than a king. But the actual castle itself, it was built between 1176 and about 1183. Sorry. There's also the Mosque Muhammad Ali, which I think, yeah, we'll be going to that next year. But the castle itself, it does not look the same as what it used to. It was actually like partially destroyed over time, but like it's been like restored a handful of times. They did also have to update a few different things just because whenever somebody new changed it, they wanted to like put their own mark on it. But because of that, we don't have like the original stuff. Courtyard. Can I see like the actual castle? Oh my god. There we go. This is the inside of the castle. Keep in mind this is a mosque, so their rules on like pictures are very limited. So this is probably going to be the only picture that we'll be able to get. So it was built by Muhammad Ali, but it was actually dedicated to a son that had died before this point. And then the Citadel, which is like the area around it, it also has the National Military Museum, which is full of uniforms and weapons from Egypt's long history, as well as a police museum. I didn't really put those on my list because I wasn't sure if we could be able to get into there. But I have nothing from the mosque. This mosque brought to you by Pepsi. Imagine if Pepsi actually started sponsoring, like, churches and mosques. Like, what would they even worship? They'd worship their god aluminum. So I've got about 15 minutes left and 1,000 more things to show you. Let's go with the quicker one. So, heads up. Cairo Tower is one of the tallest buildings in Egypt. I'm going to try to get a view from as high up as I can, so warning. The heights. Vertigo. Yeah. So, skip ahead if you need to. I have 2 pictures. Probably don't need to. Oh, cool! Yeah, this is the kind of picture I'm looking for. Yeah, this is Cairo Tower. It was built from 1956 to 1961, so less than 10 years. It's about 614 feet high, which is about 187 meters. And it's taller than the Great Pyramid, only by 164 feet, or 50 meters. So, this giant building is only about 160 feet taller than the pyramids. So, like, jeez. Here's another one. Waiting in line. Who needs a line when you enter? But yeah, so Cairo Tower, it has 16 floors in total. So it's not, like, comparatively to, like, New York and places like that, it's not super common. But when you're in a place like Cairo, where just being 400 to 500 feet high up is like sky view, it's pretty impressive. Especially considering like the base that they have to work with. Because like Cairo and Giza is like generally considered like a desert area, so you have to deal with like sand, you have to deal with like shifting bases, things like that. So the fact that it's able to be this tall is pretty impressive. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, it definitely looks Christmassy. Yeah, so sadly there wasn't a picture of it, but there is a rotating restaurant on the 14th floor, where it literally spins, and the waiters and waitresses dress up as ancient Egyptians. This is so pretty. I just love the high up views. Like it just really like shows everything that a city has. Which on that note, we are now going to be going to street level, because I do want to go to an area called the Khan El Khalili, which is basically an open air bazaar. Which a bazaar is kind of like a market, but like on steroids. So this is a bazaar with all of this going on. So let's start with the basics. So it's also called I believe pronounced souk, S-O-U-K, where you can find pretty much everything, where everybody is just yelling at you to buy their stuff, which, I mean, considering the stuff that they have, it's usually pretty cool. Also, in Egypt, unlike a lot of places, there's actually places in, like, bazaars in Egypt where you can buy dye, just, like, out of market. Yeah, this gives you more of a feel. Where you just walk the streets and people don't even need to buy stuff. On the one hand, I kind of want a place like this to kind of exist in, like, the United States. On the other hand, an open-air place like this, there would definitely be a lot of, like, thieves going around stealing stuff. So, kudos to the countries that can actually have markets like this. I'm just gonna pick it random. So, the original form of the bazaar, this one specifically, it was originally started in the 14th century, and it was originally at a place called the Za'afran Tomb. So, the bazaar was originally part of a tomb. So close together, you can barely even see this guy. Look at this guy just staring at the camera person. He knows what he's doing. But, so, the last fun fact that I have about this is that this was the most important foreign trade place in the 15th century for, like, Cairo in general. So, like, the vast majority of foreign trade came through here. I thought that said Kardashian for a second. I was about to freak out. I like that white dress. It's very basic. Lots of bags. Nice. And for those who don't know, my wardrobe is like very, very basic. I'm trying to get it to where I have just purely black and white clothes. White clothes are difficult to get that like you can actually clean easily. So that's a bit of a yikes. So it's also for those who know me and who know that I wear a tailcoat, non-ironically, I found that they also have a like cream version, which I would love to get. So before I go, I do want to give that big announcement. I'm also going to be announcing it in a week on the actual like main Facebook page. But I am going to be switching to start doing live streams once a week. For now, I am going to be doing them every Saturday, but I'm only going to be doing one per month on Facebook. And then the other 3 or 4 Saturdays of the month, I'll be streaming on Twitch. So for those who don't know, Twitch is a live streaming platform that is specifically built for live streaming. It's also a place where I can actually start making some money. Because I would love to do something like this full time. I have a lot of other things that I want to do. But doing them kind of requires a little bit of money. So yeah, I'll be switching on over to Twitch. The account is not public yet, so don't try to search it yet. But yeah, you can subscribe if you want to, or you can just follow me. It's completely free to follow. But if you do want to support me, hit me up on Twitch. Again, I'll be streaming once a week every Saturday. Probably the 3rd Saturday of the month will be on Facebook, and then the other 3 are going to be on Twitch. Which the next week, for my first live stream on Twitch, I'm going to be doing Rio de Janeiro. I already have a bunch of fun facts lined up for that. Brazil is like weirdly full of fun facts, which I did not expect going into it. This definitely looks like it was a 360 picture, and not like a panorama, not so much a 360 picture. 360 camera. I love it.